Hello and good evening. Welcome to the 20 podcast. Unfortunately, Doug is unavailable due to his illness. Shortly, he's very ill, but hopefully he get himself better soon. Hopefully, we'll get back here on the channel on the 20 podcast as soon as possible. Join us tonight. We've got our very own Sunderland resident. It's Mr. Michael Bowers. Michael, good evening to you.
Good evening, Karl. How have you been doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm just stressful doing all the Christmas stuff to get everything done and dusted this weekend before I go back to work. So I'm a bit stressed out of planning my own Christmas and stuff. Yourself?
I'm not doing too badly, to be fair. I mean, obviously, it's just that either because for those who don't know, basically I work in retail, so obviously it's time ramping up towards Christmas. Actually, yeah, just to think about it, in exactly a week today, come to think of it, yeah. Well, tonight at the time of recording, but 6 days at the time this is probably going out live. Yeah, less than a week rather is going to be Christmas, which is weird. But as you can very well imagine, just based on that, on the last result, you can probably guess why I am buzzing. But I'm sure
Absolutely.
I'm sure we will get into that.
Well, we are going to get into that straight away because it is the main talking point which I have put on here. But the Black Cats beat the Magpies in the Tyne derby. That's right. Sunderland beat Newcastle 1-0 after Nick Vollmer's own goal late in the second half. And Michael, you were at that game on Sunday. Give
Yep.
us your perspective of how tense it was for you as a Sunday fan watching it live at the stadium flag.
Put it this way: the two bits of the day in general, because obviously of the result is amazing, but the two bits of the around the game I did enjoy was the own goal and the full time whistle. You'll probably find this out when you play Man United, because I know for Leeds fans that is a huge game, but derby games I absolutely hate because it is so tense, it is nerve wracking, it is on the edge of your seat, it's fingernail biting stuff. It is just and for context, one of the reasons this game meant so much to me was because of the shambles of the Cup derby less than 2 years ago. When
Yeah.
for those who don't know the context, obviously Sunderland gave Newcastle the Black Cats bar, which is basically one of our own bars in corporate and hospitality, and decorated it in black and white. And that rightly did not go down very well. It was a complete and utter backlash, and Karl's got every right to laugh at that. Newcastle fans have every right to take the mick out of that. As a Sunderland fan, I couldn't believe it when I was. By the way, for those who keep watching, I keep looking this way because I haven't seen any highlights from Man U Bournemouth, so I'm trying to brush up a little bit. Semenyo's one of the goal scorers. What a shock! But
Well, I'll leave the Man United Bob last then anyway, which I
that's
was
fine.
trying
That's
to
fine.
do.
That's fine. But as far as this one was concerned, yeah. So because of that, and then you had, if you Carl might remember, the team photo Newcastle took after the game, which I think that was what's his name? Is it Jason Tyndall? I think it is.
Yeah.
Newcastle assistant manager, to Eddie Howe. And Eddie Howe I've got a lot of time for, but Jason Tyndall I can't stand. I think he's a. I'll not swear, but yeah, he's
Well, you can swear. This is yeah.
all right. He's an effing knobhead. There you go. But yeah, I'm not particularly keen on him at all. But it was his idea apparently, and I get it from a Newcastle point of view. Of course, you're going to love that. It was a kind of a put Sunderland in their place kind of thing. So because of that, I loved it when we decided to go and do the same thing afterwards. And even former Newcastle player John Anderson on BBC Radio Newcastle said at the time, he said he didn't like what they did because it'll come back to bite them. So it's why I've been kind of reserved in how much Mickey taken I've done out of Newcastle fans this week, because I know if I do that, it'll come back to bite me. So yeah, from a Sunderland fan's point of view, the day was great. Obviously, if we'd lost, I wouldn't be saying this, but the day was great. But I mean, as you probably watched the game yourself, and even I'll admit this as the fan of the team that won the derby, it was not a good game. If you're looking at it from a neutral point of view, I can imagine it's probably one of the worst games you'll watch this season in terms of attacking quality, in terms of impetus, in terms of drama. I mean, there was the only drama really was the fact that Voldemort, Newcastle's record signing, decided to score the winner for Sunderland, and the other one was the little bit of scenes that were fighting at the end. But apart from that, it was quite tame for a dive. But it wasn't tame in terms of energy, in terms of passion, in terms of what the game means. To be fair, both Sunderland and Newcastle fans, it means a lot to both of them, and it'll happen again when Sunderland go to St James's Park in a few months' time. So that'll be that. But as far as this one's concerned, yeah, the game was really poor, but it was decided really by what Voldemort is doing in the penalty area. I don't know, but a fantastic header. It's got to be said. The one it past Aaron Ramsdale. Generally couldn't believe it. And actually, if I'm looking at it if I'm as neutral as I can be around this game, Newcastle were appalling, and I couldn't believe how. I was obviously delighted they were, but I was really baffled as to the fact I was kind of waiting them to go, right, you got Barnes, sorry, with Barnes coming off the bench, but starting, you got Volamada, you got Gordon, you got Alanga, you got Bruno Guimaraes, Lewis Miley,
Alanga
Sandro Tonali.
was the worst player.
I know he really wasn't very good. Reynaldo
For
comfortably
£55 million is spent for him, I think it's a waste of money when he didn't need to.
yeah, it's looking like it. And if that's the case, I think questions have got to be asked at the hierarchy of Newcastle with regards to their recruitment. Because actually, when the Saudis first took over, I mean, maybe Amanda Staveley had a big part in this, and the fact she's not there anymore maybe goes under the radar. But but their recruitment when they first took over were actually really good.
I know.
You know, you're looking at Bruno Guimaraes, what was it, £35 million? He's probably one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Sandro Tonali, you know, obviously I think he was probably flagging a bit after the exploits at Leverkusen, and apparently I think he was at fault for Leverkusen's second goal against Newcastle.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that one, but that would have probably took a lot out of him, but he's still a very good midfielder. Don't let that detract from that. Lewis Miley, okay, Joe Linton wasn't playing, but Lewis Miley's a more than capable Premier League midfielder. And then and Newcastle's fullbacks, Livramento, okay, I know both are injured now, but Livramento and Hall are probably, I would argue, England's two main starting fullbacks, maybe at the World Cup if they're fit. So make no mistake, it's a really good Newcastle team. And I was kind of looking at it going, right, this is when they're going to turn the screw. No, they still haven't done it yet. This is when they're going to turn the screw. And it just never happened. Now, part of that, I think, is because I thought defensively we were outstanding. I thought we limited Newcastle very, very well. We limited them to probably, 2 shots on target all game. One of which I think one of the shots was at least comfortably straight at Robin Roofs. Even the shot on target we had from Wilson Isidore, remember, Aaron Ramsdale has to at least make a save of some description, even though it wasn't a great chance itself. So, yeah, but I was, from Newcastle fans' point of view, although it's hilarious watching the meltdown, but else at the same time, from their point of view, I completely understand why they'd be annoyed at that, because if we perform like that, and I've seen plenty of occasions where Sunderland have performed like that in a derby, look at the 5-1 at Newcastle under Steve Bruce, and you look at probably even to a lesser degree a 1-1 draw against them. You might remember this 1-1 draw against them at home under Martin O'Neill when Demba Ba became our second top goal scorer at that point, behind Stephen Fletcher. But I was fuming at the performance. I was like, well, why? They were down to 10 men for an hour, and we made them look so comfortable. It was ridiculous. So yes, I can understand their frustrations and their annoyances, but at the end of the day, that ain't Sunderland's problem. Just like and I think some Newcastle fans have argued, well, you beat us because of an own goal. Well, all right then, in the cup game, you beat us because of an own goal, Pierre Reckwood signed to be suicidal on the edge of his own box, and a penalty that Van Ballard gave away when the game was gone. So, bearing in mind at that point the team we had versus the team they've had. So, I made a joke constantly going, isn't it funny Newcastle can't beat us when the gap isn't like that? You know, but look, no getting away from it. They are a good team. The game at St James's Park, I think, will be very, very tough. Of course it is. Newcastle is one of the hardest places to go in the Premier League, so deal with that when we come to it. But as you can imagine from some fans, and as Karl knows from my exploits in the group chat we were in at full time, he probably knew that I was going to be absolutely off my man tits, and I have no regret for it whatsoever.
We all fucking knew it was going to happen anyway. Even I was like, bloody hell.
Of course you would have done. Of course you would have done. And again, just for context on that, I've watched, as a Sunderland fan, bear in mind, as a passionate diehard Sunderland fan, and the fans that are more bigger than me, that have been into Sunderland a lot longer than me, that have got more away games than me, but I think there's, find not many who care more about Sunderland than I do. Or maybe it says how sad I am, I don't know. But I care about Sunderland a lot. Now, for me, to watch us be out of the Prem for 8 years, 4 of them being in League One. In the last League One year, they got taken over by the Saudis to be the richest club in the world. Yeah, forget the PSR thing, of course, but still, the narrative's there. Ashley was gone, that was what they wanted. And then within 3.5 years of that, they finished in the Champions League places twice and won the Carabao Cup. And we'd only just got back to the Premier League 6 months ago. And that, for me, that was, and particularly them winning the Carabao Cup, there were some genuine Newcastle fans that I was happy for when that happened, but that's not good. It killed me watching that as a Sunderland fan. It absolutely killed me. And as Doug knows, I was not happy with Liverpool when they lost to them. So the point of the matter is, now I've seen what we've done so far this season and probably 2025 as a whole, to be totally honest. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. On Sunday, I put out a tweet saying we fucking deserve this as Sunderland fans. We have seen. It's one of those where I think Doug said it to me when I previewed the Liverpool Sunderland game a couple of weeks ago. Saying you guys have been through enough shite. You deserve something to good shabba. Where the rest of this season goes, I have no idea. I'm still looking at 40 points straight away, even though Karl's probably going to go, shut up, you're 10 points above us, you're not going to go down. You're 16 points above Burnley, you're 13 points above West Ham. But it is the Prem. Anything can happen, so we'll wait and see. Spoiler, again, I do not think we will go down. I think we will have more than enough to get past 40 points, and probably even a bit more than that, to be honest, depending on what happens in January. Obviously, to end the Sunderland bit, because we do have quite a few games to get through, but yeah, Newcastle obviously responded by beating Fulham in the Cup. Call it here, because Newcastle have Chelsea, I think it's St James's on Saturday
Yeah.
lunchtime. Don't be surprised if Newcastle win that, because at home they're generally pretty... I know their performances haven't been great recently, but when they play against the big boys at home, they're generally good. I
Yeah.
watched them against Man City a few weeks ago and they deserve to win it. So I wouldn't be surprised on that. And for Sunderland, look, I think Brighton away is what we've got on at the weekend. So look, if we get anything, I'll be happy with that. A point at Brighton. Bearing in mind, we have now started this AFCON period where we've got, I think it's Reynaldo out, Sadiqi's away, Traore, Talbi, Masuaku, okay, he doesn't play anyway. Diarra apparently might be with the squad on Saturday, but then might be going
He's
to
in the squad on Saturday, and he'll go after. Yeah.
I was going to say that makes. I mean, I'll take it, but it makes absolutely no sense. I thought you would have gone already. So I'm not complaining in the slightest.
I think
So,
Senegal don't start until later on in the week, so it gives him a
oh,
time.
okay, fair. Well,
Yeah.
fair enough then. But either way, look. So, but for this week, I have been enjoying it, and probably because of the shambles of the cup game, the result meant a lot to me personally to sort of rectify. I know Bruno Guimaraes put the post about Newcastle making right the wrongs in the reverse fixture, but as far as I was concerned personally, Sunday, just last Sunday, was righting the wrongs of that shambolic cup game and everything that went around it. So, and bearing in mind we had Michael Beale then, I think that
Yeah,
says
he
quite.
did.
I think
Yeah.
that says quite a lot. So, yeah, look, well, wait, whatever the rest of the season brings, I don't know, but yeah, I was. I mean, even this, and the last thing I'll end it on before we go on to the other games, the city was buzzing even just after beating our rivals. Now, I'm not saying Sunderland are going to do this in my lifetime, although I hope we do. But imagine if we won one of the cups. Imagine if we actually did something like that. And it's the same with Leeds. Imagine if clubs like Sunderland and Leeds, how buzzing the city would be if you won a major trophy.
Yeah.
And for context, I don't mean the Papa John stuffed crust, extra
No.
crust, cheesy pepperoni pizza stuffed trophy. I don't mean that. I mean one that is befitting of Sunderland's size. As arrogant as that's going to sound, but I don't care. Like, you know, Carabao Cup. I'm not going to say to make out Newcastle win the Carabao Cup. I'd love to see Sunderland win that. So that or winning the FA Cup, that would be something. If that happened, I could just die a happy man. But you know, but look, the city was buzzing after just beating our rivals, and after everything we've gone through over the last decade, soak it in and enjoy it. And look, like I said, AFCON's going to be tough, but this is where some of the other players in the squad want to view it as an opportunity to stake a claim. So we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, so suffice to say, I was effing buzzing.
Fair enough. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Michael. It was
Yeah.
pointless for you. You know, you usually send your match review after the video blog after tours, but because Doug has been off, I just thought there's no point. There's no point using it
Yeah.
while you're on here. So
And it gives me another excuse to talk about it for 10 minutes. So it's fine.
exactly,
It's
it
fine.
does. It does. Right. Let's look at some other games as well. Oh, let's start off at Anfield Saturday. Oh, Liverpool winning against Brighton 2-0. Two goals from Hugo Ekitike, both in the first minute and 60th minute. And here's the thing, Michael, interesting, and we'll get to the controversial moment between Diego Gomez and the tackle on Fulham Verts. You know, Mo Salah, after all the criticisms he's had the last week of coming out controversial after the Leeds game, and he came on for Joe Gomez, who was injured on the 26th. I mean, he got so much applaudits
So
on
unanimous
Friday.
unanimously positive reception, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very positive. Do you think we see the last of Salah now? Do you think after coming on, do you think that all this is he's not going to leave now in January?
I didn't think it was realistic. Well, say realistic. Anything could happen, but I didn't think it was likely he'd leave anyway. Now, he could still go. I don't know. It depends on what's gone on behind the scenes between him and Arne Slot. But I think the reaction from the Liverpool fans, I think, says something quite a lot. Because, look, from Salah's point of view, I don't think he's handled it particularly brilliantly. But I get it's the frustration. He's going away to AFCON with Egypt, and this is one where I believe has he won an international trophy yet? No, I didn't think he had. So this is his chance for him to do it. He wants to go in good condition. He wants to go to he doesn't want to be dropped before, and I get it. But he also has to remember he's not guaranteed a place. He has to earn it the same way everyone else does. And don't get me wrong, not for one second underplaying how good Salah has been for Liverpool. He's been one of the best Premier League players of all time, in my opinion. So I think we'll see how that develops. But well, it's the last we'll see of him in 2025, if you want to look at it that way,
Yeah.
since he is going away to AFCON. But I don't think he'll go in January, and I think Liverpool will be making a mistake if they were going to. If they're going to sell him next summer, is probably when it'll happen. I think.
Absolutely, probably will happen. The controversy we was talking about, Diego Gomez high tackle on Florian Wirtz. You surprised the VAR looked at it, it was only yellow and not a red. It was a bit surprising.
Is it one of those tackles you could describe as an orange card, where you kind of where it's like it's somewhere in between the two extremes?
Yeah, I would
At
say
least how the
that.
referee would see it that way, I think.
Yeah, I
So
would say that. Like,
yeah,
think of more with like when Nigel De Jong went high on NES. No, it was Chavi or something like that, and the high boot in the chest. It was more below round, just around the stomach area, the groin area.
yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Well, obviously Gomez did get booked for that, didn't he? So selfishly, he's missing the game against us at the weekend. So he picked up his fifth yellow card.
Yeah,
So how good that will be, I don't know. We'll see at the weekend. But yeah, look, I think if it's one where if you're is it one of those decisions where sometimes VAR could intervene, but I think if the but sometimes if it's not a clear and obvious error, then there's not much apparently VAR can do about it. So it hinges on the referee, I think. But so maybe on another day, Diego Gomez might have got lucky not to have been sent off. But I think I think it's less of a talking point because Liverpool won. You know what I mean? I think if Liverpool had dropped points, then I think a lot more would have been getting made of that, given the Liverpool presence in the media, so to speak. But on to Liverpool, I think it was massive for them. I mean, you could say, I suppose, I think is it 4 games unbeaten now in the Prem? I think it's
yeah,
like they've beaten West Ham, they obviously drew against Sunderland, drew against Leeds, and then they've beaten Brighton at Anfield. So, and I think what's proven it at the minute, I'll tell you something that's quite an interesting narrative from my point of view, is Ekitike showing Alexander Isak up big time because he's the one who's sort of been like really in vain form in front of goal. I think he might not be far off double figures. I'm sure he started the season like house on fire. He got 2 against Leeds, if I'm right,
yeah,
and then he's obviously got 2 against Brighton. So, you know, with Ekitike, hilariously Newcastle didn't get him. But yeah, so thank you Liverpool. But yeah, I think obviously with Ekitike, it's good to see that Liverpool's starting to get a bit of form back. And I think for this season for Liverpool, I think it's more about probably, and I think Doug would probably agree, try and get in the Champions League places. I think at this point, because I think it's safe to say they're probably not going to catch Arsenal or Man City. I think both of them will
yeah,
prove to be too consistent, or too consistent for Liverpool to catch them, regardless. So yeah, for Liverpool, it was important to bounce back and get a home victory, really. Because I thought in the last home game against Sunderland, they were quite lucky to come away with a point. I would argue. So I think it's important. And bear in mind, Brighton is a good team they've beaten as well. You know, so
yeah,
we'll see how Brighton. I hope selfishly Brighton don't bounce back at the weekend, but there is every chance they do because Brighton are a good side, and I think and I don't think for Brighton they'll look too much beyond. Yes, they've not been in great form, but it's Liverpool at Anfield. It's a hard place to go, and I think you've just got to say that just Liverpool, just hand it to Liverpool for winning the game. Really,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We got huge for Liverpool this past weekend as well. Let's go to Turf Moor. It's gone all the way back to 1951 Fulham last one day until Saturday. They
Marco
beat.
Silva said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, absolutely. For winning 3-2 at Burnley, a goal from Smith Rowe from a corner that I don't think Burnley should have marked better. But I think Harry Wilson deserves some credit because he was a bit missing from the game. Then he got those 2 assists and he got the goal as well. And Burnley did make a bit of a late comeback, for Sonny scoring in the second goal, but it's Burnley's 7th defeat in a row now in the Premier League. It's their worst top flight run since 1895, Michael. And it's alarm bells ringing for Scott Parker now that
Yeah,
can you get through to January, or do you see Burnley have to make a decision at some point?
I think he might get. Depends. If they lose on Saturday, it could be a different story, really. I mean, I'm surprised he lasted after this game because I think Fulham was. I mean, if you think what was the game before that? I think it was Newcastle away. Burnley aren't expected to get results at Newcastle. That's although with 10 men they nearly did, which is probably quite poor from a Newcastle point of view. But I think when you look at this one, this was the game I think they highlighted that they had to win. Really, not even a draw, but win. And I've kind of put it this way: at the start of the season. I think, well, obviously, I think for a while I've said Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley to go down, but Leeds were the ones that I felt had a chance. And I still think that Leeds do have a chance of stopping up. Now, I didn't put Burnley in that same bracket as Leeds because I felt this game kind of demonstrated it, where Fulham I didn't think were great, but Burnley weren't good enough to get a point. Like the performance, did they deserve to lose? Yeah, probably they did actually. I think Fulham I think Fulham's extra quality showed, and I think it says a lot there. I think what Scott Parker has tried to do with Burnley is to Get them to be more solid, get them to be a bit more pragmatic. When you remember back when Vincent Company was there, he basically said, "Well, screw what the Premier League's about. I'll go and play my football."
Yeah.
Wait, why are we getting battered 5-0? Oh, because you're not good enough to do it. So I can get Scott Parker's point of view up, I think, but you got to say Burnley defensively in this game were all over the place. I think every single Fulham goal, if we conceded it, I'd be pretty annoyed. Even look at the first one. Was it from Harry Wilson from a set piece?
Yeah, from the corner,
You
and
know,
didn't even mark properly. It
no,
just
exactly. It's basically a free effort on goal, isn't it? And so from a Burnley point of view, of course, I'll have every right to be annoyed at that. Um, I think obviously Okachukwu, I think, got the first one.
yeah, he scored the equaliser. Yeah, because and then Karen Bassey with the header in the first minute, and then yeah, but like I said, Fulham was all over Burnley,
Yeah,
and Bill
exactly.
Wilson scored in nearly the 58th minute. So, but like I said, clearly Hartman was supposed to be marking, was supposed to defend the post and letting
Oh,
Smith.
Hartman for the third goal, by the way, I've got to mention. That annoyed me watching that.
Yeah,
And I think if you look at Jimmy Redknapp, I know he's not a popular man and the most popular at the best of times, but I actually loved his rant about that. That really annoys me. When you're up against it and you're okay, there were 2-1 down at that point, but you're still in the game. You know, if you get the next goal, then you never know. And he's jogging back from the halfway line and not tracking the
no,
runners at all. That is something that's inexcusable.
yeah,
A
very
complete, a
inexcusable.
complete lack of effort is disgraceful. And yeah, I think it's an insult to Burnley fans who have paid for their season ticket or paid for match tickets to watch that. That is, yeah. If you're losing because the quality isn't there, there's not much you can do about that. But if it's through a lack of effort, that's shocking. So Hartman, I think, has got to look at himself in the mirror big time with that. But yeah, I just think with Burnley as a whole, first of all, it's an important win for Fulham. I think there was obviously real talk at one point of Fulham sort of being dragged into it, and I never really believed that would happen. I felt like Fulham would start to climb up the division, and obviously they've beaten
Yeah, because they're
Sunderland.
now 7 points clear now of the
Exactly.
drop. So,
They've
but there's
beaten.
also big questions about Michael Silver's future, especially after
Yeah, that's hanging
beating.
over the club, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's still the lingering issue at the moment.
Yeah, that's well, obviously until that gets resolved one way or another, then obviously that's going to be we're going to have them in a bit of a 6 month state of limbo, I guess. But with Fulham, I felt when they've obviously beaten Sunderland, they've won away at Tottenham, and they've beaten Burnley away from home. So I think personally, I would be, and I said it for a while, I'd be staggered if Fulham went down. I think they'll have too much quality. Their issue is just really having someone who can finish chances off for them. But with Burnley, yeah, I just don't think Burnley have enough. And as for Scott Parker, to answer your question, I can see him being in charge until the new year potentially. But I think if he doesn't pick up any points in the next couple of games, then I think he's probably gone. Unless are Burnley thinking, we might as well stick with him because if we go down, he'll bring us straight back up.
Yeah,
And that's obviously, and in principle, I can get that, but it's not as it's easy to think that. It's not as easy to do. So I don't personally think there'd be much better options than Scott Parker to bring Burnley back up if they did go down. Because they're so used to the way he's playing. It was so effective last time. Bear in mind the contrast though was they had CJ Egan Riley, didn't he? And then he obviously left on a free last summer. And apparently,
yeah.
yeah, and apparently Maxime Estev's not been the same player, has he?
No,
So yeah, it just begs the question: is there something in that? I don't know. But either way, yeah, I would answer your question, sort of round it off. Yeah, I think for the foreseeable for the next week or two, I think Scott Parker will be in charge. But the numbers of Parker out are really growing at this point.
yeah, even Dan's been telling me about that as well recently when I spoke to him last week before the Fulham game as well. So yeah, that will be interesting to see how that
I
develops.
do think the bottom two will be the bottom two at the end of the season. Even if Wolves pick up a bit and overtake Burnley, I still think both of them will go down.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely as well. We'll go on to West Ham actually, and at the London Stadium, and Morgan Rogers saves the day again after and that third goal from him is what the second goal from him.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, Aston Villa beating West Ham 3-2. Matis Fernandes scored in the first minute, and then Matt DePavlos scored an own goal into his own net for Villa to equalise, and Jared Boyle scored in the 24th minute. But Rogers scored 2 second half goals as well, which keeps pressure on the top two. Can you see Aston Villa being, title contenders, Michael?
Well, I'm looking at the tables. What are they? 3 points off top. Personally, no. I think well, effectively, it's 4 points because of goal difference. Really, they don't score as much as Arsenal, Man City. I think it's a lot. I'd love them to be. It'd be great to see a different club in there as long as it's
They're
not.
only 5 behind Arsenal, but Man City is the top goal scorers in the
Oh
Premier
yeah,
League.
no, they're only 3 behind Arsenal here.
Yeah, they're
Pretty
three
sure.
points behind Arsenal, and
Yeah, and
oh,
then one behind Man City. So
yeah,
yeah, I think so. I mean, as long as it's not Newcastle United, I'd love to see somebody else in the title race. But yeah, I think it's a lot to ask. But I do think Champions League is certainly more than feasible for them. And you've got to take into account that, but the fact we're having the conversation about titles shows how bloody good a job Unai Emery's done in recent weeks. You remember, even back to when they drew 1-1 at the Stadium of Light, when Sunderland had 10 men for about an hour of the game,
yeah,
there was a lot of unhappy voices at Villa, and rightly so. And since then, I think they've won 10 of their next 11 or something
yeah.
like that.
They're now unbeaten in all competitions in 9 matches now. So
Yeah, and bear in mind, obviously, they could have a good go in the Europa League as well. So, I suppose you could say, would Villa fans think you'd probably take that winning the Europa League, and then even if they finish like 6th or 7th, but you win the Europa League, you get into the Champions League, don't you? So, yeah, you've got to credit and Morgan Rogers fair, but I think there was a stat from the Match of the Day commentator that said every time Morgan Rogers has scored away from home, I think it is, or Aston Villa have gone on to win the game.
yeah, they
So,
did that
uh,
against Brighton
yeah.
and did that against Leeds. Yeah, it's
So bearing in mind, and also they went behind twice, didn't they? So it's a good, and obviously West Ham. Okay, I think West Ham at home isn't like what say Leeds is at Ellen Road, for example, or Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, but you're going behind twice away from home and you're coming back to win. Fair enough, you can't knock that. It's really, really impressive effort. Obviously for West Ham, I think the big thing for them is after me. I think Matheus Fernandes is starting to show some promise. Obviously Freddie Potts, I think it is in
pretty
midfield for them.
pots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's really
yeah.
coming and making that slot his own. Bowen, we know how important he is. But Keta, obviously who did he get suspended against? Or was it this? No, it wasn't this game, was it?
No,
No, there was a game where I think. Oh, what game was it? Paqueta kept on yapping and yapping and yapping. Oh, it was
it
to
was against
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
That
Yeah,
was it. Yeah. No, it was 2 yellows there. Never mind. But the point still stands. Like Paqueta, Bowen, Potts, Fernandez. There's still more than enough quality in this team for me to stay up. Obviously, I know Karl. I hope they don't because I think it's going to be between Leeds and West Ham to battle for avoiding 18th place. So, but the big thing that could help Leeds particularly is if Bowen gets injured, then obviously that's a big thing. But West Ham depends on what resources they've got in January. So I don't
they're
think West
losing
Ham
Wan-Bissaka and Jufus. They're going
AFCON.
away. Yeah,
Yeah, so there is that. Obviously, the next game it's Man City away, which is very unlikely West Ham will go there and get anything. So I think West Ham. I wouldn't worry if I was them because obviously Villa are a really, really good bloody team at this point. But yeah, I think when they're playing like Fulham at home, when they're playing, well, obviously they play Leeds at home, don't they? But that's not till the end of the season. I think particularly when they go to Burnley away, that's a big one. When they've got to play Wolves twice as well. So obviously that's massive for West Ham. So they really do have to. These are the games they're going to have to pick points up in more than Villa at home, I think.
yeah, yeah, absolutely as well. Let's move on to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea winning 2-0 against Everton. Goals from Cole Power, Mario Gusto in the first half. And unfortunately, Kieran Dewsbury went off with an injury within the first couple of minutes of the game. Michael, the big talking point is Enzo Maresca. He came out, not, refusing. He was saying, came up with some criticism. He was not happy with the performance. Is he trying to point to the board? Like he said, this is the worst 48 hours since he joined her. Is he complaining to the board or someone, regarding that's got to do something to do with his job title or something?
I don't know because at Chelsea they do exactly this. Not to mention Sunderland too much because I feel like I've done that quite a bit. But so Chelsea have gone down a similar route to what Sunderland are in terms of youth policy, but on a bigger scale, obviously, because they have more resources to work with than we do. So I think when you look at Chelsea, I think is Enzo Maresca maybe pointing fingers at that and maybe thinks they need a bit more senior experience in there. And I'm talking like elite level senior experience for a club like Chelsea. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. If he has come out and criticised the performance, then that's something for me because obviously Everton are a good side, but it might have been Everton were just poor on the day. So I don't know. And on the Everton point of view, I think again, this isn't a game that you're going to look and say, okay, we lost 2-0 against one of the teams that finished in the top four last season.
And had some
Well,
good chances, Everton as well too.
yeah, they
So
did. So, Moyes obviously isn't doing a bad job there. So I think Everton will bounce back and will be all right. But yeah, I think if Maresca's criticising the performances, then it suggests to me that not all is well behind the scenes at Chelsea. Or it might be that Maresca thought he could work within their youth-oriented system and has since found out he wants a bit more. But he might think, well, I've won you a trophy, I've won the Conference League, got you back in the Champions League again. We're right in that position again this season with one of the youngest teams in the league. Maybe he thinks if you give him a bit of senior elite level experience, They could be title challengers. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I suspect that's what he might be coming across as.
absolutely. And he's also the news came out early today, some multiple sources that if Pep goes, he's been linked with a move
I did see that.
to go to Man
Yeah.
City. So
But one bald man leaves, another one takes charge.
yeah,
But yeah, he was obviously heavily he was on like what Pep's understudy pretty much, wasn't he? So
yeah,
that it says quite a bit about Chelsea, really, if Man City's viewed as an upgrade, if you know what I mean. Like Chelsea, I always when I was getting into football, they were obviously one of the teams that would be challenging for the title. But obviously Chelsea, I think, have kind of because of their youth-oriented policy, that suggests to me they're kind of content with as long as they're in the Champions League for revenue and for resources, that they would be maybe a bit more content with that. Where I'd imagine Chelsea fans would probably want a bit more. But yeah, Man City, it'll be fascinating. It'd be good to get Anne's thoughts on this, really, considering that Maresca was at Leicester. There's a rhyme. There you go.
yeah.
Considering he was there during the 23-24 championship season, and considering that was his first job, I would say he's done pretty good at Chelsea since he's took over, especially if he's had a really young team to work with. But you never know. If he goes to Man City, he's probably going to get much more resources financially there than he would at Chelsea, even though Chelsea will be giving him a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about that as well. That could happen in the future as well. Let's go to Selhurst Park. Erling Haaland scored 2 goals in the game when Man City beat Crystal Palace 3-0. Goal from also for Phil Foden in his good running form as well. Listen, it's reduced at the Man City reduced Arsenal to 2 points at the top of points again. They've been up and down Man City, including the last couple of games, but to get a clean sheet at Selhurst Park, which is a tough, difficult ground for
Very.
big teams, but they have kept the pressure on Arsenal.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking. I remember watching the match of the day highlights. I think it was Pino in particular had one really big chance.
Hit the strike with the
Um,
woodwork, and so did Wharton as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then Jeremy, I've just seen here. Yeah, he hits the bar, doesn't he? So, like, Palace had chances in this game. Like, it's not like a. You might look at the 3-0 and think, oh, it's been really comfortable. Man City are better them. It really wasn't. Based on the highlights I've seen, it really wasn't. And you are right. I think it's only the two Manchester clubs that have won at Selhurst Park in the Premier League this season,
yeah,
and that says how good a team Palace are now. So I think, yeah, I think you've just got to hold your hands up and just say that Man City is a really good result, and yeah, it's putting pressure on Arsenal because there was obviously talk about Arsenal by some and away being by far and away the best team in the league, and about how no one was going to catch their level. And I'm sure at one point Man City were like nearly 10 points behind them. So it just goes to show that, and especially with Pep, he's got the experience of winning this, and this is something that maybe Mikel Arteta is going to have to learn to deal with in terms of the psychological barrier, I guess, of winning the league. Once you've won it once, then you know that you can do it. But again, I think you've got to go to Selhurst Park. Obviously, Haaland's back in really back in form now with this season, and to go there, score 3 goals, keep a clean sheet as well. That'll be one of their best wins of the season, I think.
it's a good one, best wins for the season. I'm going to give you a fact with this one actually. So I saw this on the footy feed on Facebook, and someone put a tweet out. Google Mail starting in 2004, Facebook 2005, Twitter 2006, meaning no Arsenal fans has ever said we are Premier League champions.
What when Arsenal fans were going on about being Premier League champions?
Well, they never posted or tweet or email. We are Premier League champions. No Arsenal fan ever has done any of the social
Oh,
media.
I guess it just goes to show the effect of nothing is done till it's done. So
Yeah,
yeah, and that's something. But again, comes back to the experience. Man City know how to do this. They've won the league time after time. Over the last 10 years, Man City will have probably won at least 6 or 7 of those leagues. So I think probably since Leicester's title winning season. Yeah, I think what was it 9 seasons since then. Man City will have won at least half of them.
yeah,
So and that says so it's kind of the master versus the apprentice thing with Arteta and Guardiola, isn't it? And
it is.
the master comes out on top every time. So it would be different. It'd be different to see Arsenal win the league, of course, but yeah, I think Arsenal will be starting to feel the pressure a bit. This is where Arsenal are going to have to show their bottle or kahungas, as Troy Deeney used to say,
Yeah,
and sort of really keep their nerve with a team of Man City's quality chasing them down.
absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how Arsenal could hold that. We'll speak Arsenal. Look at Arsenal shortly as well. We've got at least 4 games left to discuss. Let's go to City Ground, and what a disappointing game for Spurs, losing 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. A brace from Karl Hudson-Odoi, the first goal. It was just a Vicario's error to pass the ball when he gifted the ball. He's done it again as well. When Archie Gray, he was Lyle Sangi just to pinch the ball from him. And again, it's been a bit of a really, really tough few weeks for Thomas Frank and the Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, it's what they've lost to Forest and they've lost to Fulham, haven't they, in recent weeks? Now, no doubt, both of them are good teams, especially Forest. When you look at some of the quality they've got, it probably just goes to show how bad an appointment Ange Postecoglou was. Because if they probably got Dyche from getting rid of Nuno, Spirito Santo, then they'd probably be a good 10 points clear, you'd argue, with the squad quality that they have. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously the first goal from Callum Hudson-Odoi, I believe it was also a great strike, really, from the edge of the box.
Yeah.
So I think there is that. You have to credit Hudson-Odoi for that. But my God, Tottenham. This is one of the reasons why Tottenham are just say, Tottenham are Tottenham. You don't back them in certain situations. Put it this way. I think you'll probably agree with this. When either of our teams go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, there is an argument to say we'd be disappointed not to get anything. Because, I don't necessarily expect anything at Spurs, by the way, but the point still stands. Oh, yeah, I've just seen the Tottenham's Forest first goal again. Yeah, that's just bad. It's awful. So, yeah, I think, Archie Gray. Jesus.
I felt sorry for Archie because because Vicari is a more experienced.
He did get sold up. Yeah, he got sold up the river without a shit creek without a paddle, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's.
Well, the good thing is I did buy him back in my Football Manager actually when you football.
Just get a question. Go, come on, Archie, get yourself back to Ellen Road, Karl. Get yourself a nice little reunion.
Oh, yeah, because I sold most of my midfield to Saudi Arabia, so
yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
I did buy Job as well for a club record fee.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what then, right? I think with Forest to get on to Forest, right? I think. I've said what I think Dyche will be more than enough to keep them up. And I think what Dyche needs to do for me is make sure they get enough points to make sure they're clear of the battle at the bottom. But I still think they'll want to have a good crack at the Europa League while they're there.
Yeah, that first away win 30 years at Utrecht was a good win, especially as well. So
absolutely, yeah, they needed that for their chances of qualifying to the knockout stages. But yeah, with Tottenham, it's just. I can't put my finger on it. It feels like something behind the scenes always stops Tottenham from reaching potential, which is like, I mean, for example, I mean, I'm sure that Tottenham fans, we want to see their team challenge for trophies, and even if it's the cups or even if it's Europe or whatever else it is, because I remember the days when Tottenham won the best teams to watch under Maurizio Pochettino, for example. But It feels to me like in recent times it's just been quite directionless at the minute. And I know, is Daniel Levy still there, or has he gone?
No, he left. He left earlier this year. He left in the summer
he did.
after the changes. So they are trying to be a bit more like, okay, we need to sign proper high-profile tags, and that's why they've been linked with Semenyo, even though that's not going to happen. So they are, and I think I've been hearing that they look like they want to sell Brennan Johnson. So there's a looks like January window might be something for Spurs. We'll have to do some business.
Well, Spurs should be able to attract a good bit of business, of good players, shouldn't they? I remember that Tottenham went in for Brian Mbeumo in the summer.
Yeah,
the Thomas Frank connection, but of course he went to Man United. So yeah,
and Eze as well.
That look where he went, bloody Arsenal. So yeah, I don't know. Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham are one of the most bizarre teams in the league, and probably the most frustrating teams in the league. So you can only imagine how Tottenham fans would feel watching them. But yeah, don't sort of discredit Forest. Amazing win for them, and especially in the situation where they're in, even though I don't think they'll be there by the end of the season, it's good for them to win comprehensively and get themselves more confidence to get their league form on track and get up the league a bit. And I think they will under Dyche. They'll be fine. But yeah, with Tottenham are just Tottenham, I suppose.
Aye, absolutely as well. A good win for Forest and for Dyche as well. Let's go to the Emirates and have to say, Arsenal didn't perform their best, and they couldn't. And luckily, somehow, 2 own goals from Sam Johnson and Mosquera in the second half, where Akoda Dare scored in the 9th minute before he equalised for Wolves, but Arsenal somehow got the late winner, which was an own goal. Was it Arsenal's best performance? They were frustrated how Wolves put with the back five and we'll give credit to Wolves. They defended so well until the 70th minute after the freakish own goal from Sam Johnston.
Funny enough, just as you said that, it actually came on my TV. Funny enough. Yeah, you've got to feel for Wolves here. I mean, I watched this game and I think you wouldn't tell that Wolves are only on 2 points just if you watch this without looking at the league table. for context. Rob Edwards actually had a game plan to go to Arsenal and to really put five at the back and put men behind the ball and frustrate them. And it took an own goal at the very end for the team that's top to beat the team that's bottom. And when Wolves got level, it was deserved. I would
Yeah,
say. I think when you look at it, I mean, even when Arsenal went 1-0 up, they just basically sat back for at least a good 10 minutes before Wolves did score. So, yeah, when it happened, I think, I feel for Wolves fans. I really do. I think it's one where, even if you got a 1-1, yeah, okay, is it going to help their situation? No, probably not. But if you came away from the Emirates with a point, it would have been a great result. And then and just you feel for Wolves because then snatched away in the 94th minute in the cruelest of fashions, and especially after you've already had an own goal. So it's weird that Wolves players scored 3 times at the Emirates and they still came away with nothing. So that just says how unlucky that was. The problem with Wolves, I think, even if they start showing performance, I think they've left themselves too little, too late. I think it's just far too much to do. I mean, they're 14 points adrift of safety, and if you want to look at goal difference, it's effectively 15. So, there is a genuine case that Wolves could be on track to beat Derby County's record.
yeah,
If they don't get a win before the turn of the year, it's a real possibility. I think Derby fans will be going, "Please, Wolves, please, please, please. We're sick of having been labelled the worst team in Premier history." But and it's actually worse if Wolves manage to do that, considering in an era where the Prem is so money oriented that you should be able to get better players as well.
yeah,
But from Arsenal's point of view, was it a great performance? No, it was probably one of their worst they'll put in all season. Did they underestimate Wolves? Maybe. But I mean, I suppose you could say it's a lesson for Arsenal never to do so. But in the end, from Arsenal's point of view, they did get the job. Well, Wolves got the job done for them, didn't they? But Arsenal did get the 3 points in the end. But if they're going to really have a chance of winning the league, then they need to play quite a bit better than this.
yeah. They certainly do. They certainly need to play a lot more better if they want to win the Premier League title.
There's no reason they can't, by the way. They are capable of putting in better performances, I will say. But
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
this game they were poor.
Absolutely as well. Let's go to the promoter game and what it's probably one of the Premier League classic at Old Trafford on Monday night, where Man United and both sides led and they go from behind after they drew 4-4 against each other. Ahmed Diallo scored in the 30th minute, and then Semenyo scored the equaliser before Casemiro scored just before that in half time, and then Valens has scored in the 46th minute and Marcus Tavernier from the free kick in the 52nd minute before Man United produced 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes for Bruno Fernandes and Mateus Cunha, and then Julie Cuppy scored the equaliser in the 84th minute. Michael, what a game it was. Especially both have been in a bit of a poor form, but I think Semenyo, after what's been going on with the transfer interest around him, he looked like he's slowly getting back to his best as well. And then actually a really good performance from Man United where they have been playing a lot more positively.
Yeah, I think you've got to give Bournemouth credit. I mean, obviously, when you're participating in a mental game like this, it's also important to get something out of it because I can imagine. But this will probably be one of Bournemouth fans' favourite games, I would imagine, in Premier League history. Especially considering they got a result in the end, didn't they? So obviously, I know they were 3-2 up. So obviously, it's disappointing when you lose the lead, but they were behind twice. So I think obviously they were 2-0 down. It was 2-0, I think.
2-1 down, yeah.
2-1. Sorry, yeah, Bournemouth obviously 2-1 down, and then obviously 4-3 down. So yeah, I think from Bournemouth's point of view, I mean, and Bournemouth had been on a little bit of a slump recently, so I think this will give them confidence that Bournemouth have always been able to score goals. It's just whether they're able to be good defensively because they've obviously let in 4 here, 3 against Sunderland. They let in,
Especially if they sold most of the back four this summer, and it's caught up to them a little bit.
Oh yeah, exactly. But Ariola's still doing a good job though, isn't he? And I think it's common consensus. It's a really good finish from Semenyo. I've just seen it now.
Yeah.
I was very more watch. Obviously, I wasn't working for this, so I didn't get to see much of this game. But when I was just astonished. I was like 4-4, wow. But yeah, it's going to be one. Of course, an 8 goal through. It's going to be one of the Prem because it'll probably be. You'll be hard pressed to find a game this season. I think that's going to be better than that in terms of goal mouth action. So I think for Man United, I think Amaron's starting to slowly creep up a little bit and starting to sort of put a decent run together. That's what I remember. They won at Palace last weekend. So
Yeah.
it was in the weekend before last. So obviously that was very good. So yeah, obviously a bit more to do for Man United. And obviously it doesn't change the behind the scenes things there. But yeah, what a game, what a classic. And for Bournemouth, I think for every Bournemouth fan that would have been in that away end, you can just imagine how mental a game that would have been for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the last game, Mike. I've saved this for last, especially for myself. So I'll let
Yeah.
you take the lead on this one.
Sorry?
I'll let you take the lead on this one. You can ask me the questions as
The
me being
lead on Leeds.
yeah.
All right then. Well, obviously, bear in mind I didn't watch much of this. I was doing content after our game, but I would imagine you're probably gonna. You're probably. I actually think it's a really good point for Leeds. This. I think quickly on my own thoughts. I think Brentford away. I mean, it's a really good header from Calvert-Lewin, and it proves actually that even I said this that I rate Calvert-Lewin as a forward if you keep him fit, and I think how many goals has he got now? Is it 5 or 6?
Yeah, yeah, it is
I think
actually. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just going to prove. I mean, and so Everton's loss would let him go in at the end of his contract. It leads his game, and he's been relatively fit actually, hasn't he? So
Very well
um,
fit, yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing I would say, I think when we went 1-0 down, it was a good goal from John Hayes through the deflection. His first goal,
yeah,
Premier goal since December 2021. And that was the last goal for Liverpool when he was in the Merseyside derby. And to quite honest, there was a game, a few chances. Brentford, wanted penalty, but at least the referee overturned it when it was offside. And I think, Otata, I think Grammy, so that was looking. But again, even though we went down 1-0, I think Farker was very proactive or bringing Harrison and Nonto in and not to give the assist with the cross to let Calvert-Lewin score from the header. And actually, he's been in good form at the moment. And in like I said, there's been calls for return to him to be back in the free line squad, which feels premature, but as I said, it was an even game where I think both teams could have won it. I think Leeds just edged could have a chance to win it as well. So I think we're now coming in a good form now where we are in the table, and especially we're now at least 3 points ahead of 3 points ahead of West
yeah,
Ham at
that's
the
huge for
moment.
you guys, especially with West Ham losing earlier in the day. So I think for you guys' point, I think I think it's a really good point. You've obviously got a win against Chelsea, draw against Liverpool, and a draw away at Brentford. And for context, you might go, well, it's Brentford, they're down there. At home, they've been outstanding. At home, Brentford have been absolutely fantastic. I think it's only Man City who have gone there and won in the
Yeah,
league anyway. Actually, no, Man City not about the cups. Yeah, so even in all competitions, it's only Man City you've gone there and won. Man United lost there, Chelsea drew there, and Brentford were well worthy of it. Liverpool lost there, and Brentford should have won by more. I watched them that night; they were really good. And obviously, beaten Newcastle at home, they've beaten Aston Villa at home. They've claimed a good few scalps there. So I think, from your point of view, I bet you never thought you would hear the words Daniel Farker and proactive in the same sentence.
no, it's
Not
not been.
unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I think I said he was. For the last couple of weeks, I said he's been reactive with the substitution up till the Man City game when he did change to be proactive, and I didn't say that word until after we beat Chelsea and Liverpool,
Yeah,
and now got the draw. And I think that's been the beneficial. And I think there's now things like, okay, maybe we need to stick by him. He deserves to get the players who want to join, because I think we will sell a couple of players. I think Joe Peru is more likely to leave, and I think Jack Harrison is also going to leave as well. I think they're the two players, especially because we maxed out our
yeah,
PSR. I think, like I said, Farker will be back in the transfer, and he needs to be back because those performances, it proves that if you give him the tools, he can do it. And I think he's changing to play five at the back and and two men up front is vital. So it has
yeah.
helped to steady the ship after all this shit that we've been going through the last few weeks, especially with the three losses and the bounce as well. Especially where we should have done better against Villa and then losing. Yeah, it has been a bit of a
Yeah,
mini turnaround that we've not seen where we thought we're going to some difficult games against some of the teams that are above us, and we beat Chelsea, drew Liverpool, and then and a draw against a good Brentford side at home as well, which it could have gone either way.
yeah, absolutely. Like I've said, I think Brentford away is one. It's under. I think Brentford's the only reason Brentford are really down there is their away form, in my opinion. So I think at home, I think you can't knock getting a point there. So I think and especially with going, and actually what probably helped you is you went 1-0 down and then came back to get a point. So if you can slowly start to build those points up in that fashion, the draws you'll find will be often as valuable as victories, as long as obviously you still win enough. But
Yeah,
I think when you're away from home, for example, say when you go up to Sunderland, for example, right? Because that's your next away game, isn't it?
yeah,
I think I'm guessing you would think if you come away from that with a draw, you go, yeah, okay, then that's a pretty canny result because you can go away to a team that's been flying. You can go and if you get into that habit, especially away from home, the points rack up quite quickly, more quickly than people think.
does.
Um, so I think it's one of those where if you can start to be really solid, and I think, and I suppose the only time you would have ever used Daniel Farker and proactive in the same sentence before was Daniel Farker is not very proactive. So describing him as proactive in a sentence is not something you would probably associate very often. But yeah, I think from your PSR point, because obviously next season it's SCR, isn't it? Squad cost
It will
ratio.
be SDI going forward, yeah.
Yeah. But obviously for this season it's still PSR, isn't it? So what's the PSR situation like then? Because obviously you got Joe, so you're saying Joe Peru and Jack Harrison were two players that you mentioned. Joe Peru, you would like to think, would have a lot of suitors at championship level.
Yes,
The
that is what we.
yeah.
That's what I think he's going to happen. I think he will, because he was a championship golden boot last season, and he's not had a lot of games. He's not even
No, he
played.
hasn't, has he? I
No,
think
so
here's one then. So say if he was to go, how much do you think you could get for him?
maybe at least up to 7. Maybe we're spending £10 million on him. I think if we get
We should be looking to get that back at a very bare minimum.
at least a bit closer to at least 7 or 8 million,
Yeah.
at least.
Well, I was going to say, I think you could maybe get to 10, maybe including add-ons potentially, only because he hasn't played very much. If he played every week and done well, obviously he played every week and done every well, he wouldn't be looking to leave, would he? But
Yeah,
you get my point. Like, I think your chance to sell him was the summer to get as much as possible for him because he's just come off the back of what was it being? I can't. Was he top scorer in the
top
championship?
scorer last season in the championship. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. So, and I'm sure he got at least 19 goals in the championship. So I think the summer was the chance for you to do it. I think Conor McGilligan had said that apparently, and I think it's probably a fair point. One of the things that probably helped our PSR situation was selling Joe Bellingham, for example. So if you make one big sale, it helps you. It helps your financial fair play or PSR or
yeah.
SCR situation as it's going to be out massively. So I think Jack Harrison, even if you get him off on loan somewhere, or even if you
We've been on loan twice. I think this time it might be permanent this time, and I think we will. And I think we will, because of all the loans we had, his total cost of loan was £22 million plus the permanent transfer. So we're looking to get at least roughly the same ballpark as Peru, at least.
he'll struggle to get that, I think, given the
Yeah,
lack of game time he's had recently. And because at least with Peru, he's a lot more recent. It's only 6 months ago he was playing every week in the championship.
exactly. And Harrison just come
Um,
back from the loan and get at Everton. He's come back from
exactly. So I think, yeah, okay. So I think if you can sell them too, then obviously it helps your situation. Where do you feel you need to strengthen to make you think, yeah, we're staying up?
I think we will need another striker up front, and I think we'll need at least a midfielder, especially to play in that
Yeah.
front mid. I know Sean
Are you
Longstaff.
talking a deeper midfielder like a pivot, or are you talking a more
Yeah,
advanced
kind of like a
midfielder? Or,
pivot. I think Sean Longstaff will come back from his injury. He's not too far. He
yeah,
hopefully will be back around New Year's, at least after New Year's. And Dan James should be back from his injury after New Year as well. But because Lucas Nemka is out for this weekend against Crystal Palace, and I think because Crystal Palace are playing tonight as well on Saturday, it's going to be a rotated squad for them. Where I don't think that so.
yeah. No, I think, yeah, I think this is where Daniel Farker does need to be backed in the window because obviously there is an opportunity for you guys to do it. The only worry I would have if I were you, but again, it might not transpire. It depends. Is that I think West Ham might have more financial scope to go it.
Yeah,
But
they have a more financial
yeah.
scope. So
But that's not. But I will stress that's not your fault because you've been in the Championship the last couple of years.
yeah.
Well, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same with us for being out of the Prem for 8 years. It's kind of our fault for not being in the Prem, but it's more that there's not as much you can do about that. That's
No,
purely because West Ham have been constant Premier League over the last how many years. So
exactly. Yeah.
that's really the only difference I would say. But unfortunately, money does talk, doesn't it? I think a lot of it depends on how good the recruitment is. So if you're looking at another striker, yeah, I think the thing is with another striker, it's January's a notoriously hard window
It
to recruit
is.
forwards
Yeah.
in, and that's the. I think as well if you can start being tight defensively as well, because I actually looked this, you've scored more goals than we have. So you've
Yeah,
scored
no.
20, we've scored 19. But obviously the big difference is we've been superb defensively. And that's kind of what I mean. So for example, right, if say for example when you went to Brighton and you lost 3-0, if you start turning defeats into 1-goal defeats and help your goal difference, yeah, you don't want to lose games, obviously. But when you do lose games, make sure they are tight. We've lost 1-0 or 2-1 rather than 3-0 or
Yeah.
5-0 like Arsenal was. But obviously at that point, it was obviously very early on in the season at that stage, wasn't it? So yeah, I think it's going to be. I'm very fascinated to see what Leeds do in January because I think, whereas with Wolves and Burnley, I think that both of them are gone. I think Burnley not mathematically, but I think the quality just isn't there, in my
No.
opinion. Whereas I think with you guys, you do have Calvert-Lewin. I think the big thing for you guys again is keeping Calvert-Lewin fit, but so far so good. He has been. You can't ignore that. The Mecha, I quite like the look of. So I think there is definitely something there. The only question mark would be if you start playing three at the back, like a 3-5-2, which I believe is what you've been playing.
Playing with 5-3-2, so it varies, but it's more 5-3-2.
But the thing is it the Metro and Calvert-Lewin up front?
Yeah,
I'm guessing. The only concern I've got there is if one of them gets injured, formation-wise, it goes out the window, doesn't it?
it
Because
does.
then you're relying on shoehorn, which is why if you're signing another striker, you can solve that problem when it happens.
Yeah, so we did change that formation when we went 1-0 down against Brentford when Harrison and Noto came on. It became 4-3-3. We went to about 4.
Okay, fair enough then.
So we do have that flexibility if we
Well,
have
that's good. Well, that's good then. If you can find a good balanced side, then that will obviously give you enough points to do it. The good thing for you guys as well is again you're on a point per game again, which I think is if you maintain that over the season, you give yourself at the very least you give yourself a fighting chance.
It does. It
I
certainly
mean, I
does.
don't think you'll need 38 points to stay up, truthfully, but I
I
do
don't
think
think we're 38 this season. I think it'll be
no.
less
I
than
think,
that.
but if you keep, but a point per game is a good target to aim for. The good thing for you guys again, your goal difference is slightly better than West Ham's. You've scored more goals than them, okay,
Yeah,
by one, but you've still scored more. So I think the big thing for you guys, I think comparatively, I think West Ham will get more points than you on the road, but I think you'll get more points at home.
I agree.
So if you can come close to matching their away tally, then I think you've got a real chance. So,
Absolutely as
but
well.
January's a massive month. It's a huge month. So, what do you think? Do you think that's fair then? I think it's Wolves and Burnley bottom two, and I think everyone above Leeds and West Ham will prove to be too good.
Yeah,
So I think it's going to be between you two for that last spot.
it will be. Yeah, I agree with
Here's,
that as well. Yeah.
so here's one then. Would you take being above West Ham by a point going into the last game of the season when you
Yes,
play
because
West Ham
which is
away?
against them. Yeah, I would.
Because then I'd imagine you're going, don't lose, just
Because
take any
it's the same
scruffy
scenario we did with Burnley a couple of seasons ago. It's the same
Yeah,
scenario.
exactly. So
Yeah.
you can just go if you go to West Ham on the last day, a point above them. That's be on TV. Sure, I mean every game will be on TV, I think, but that
Yeah,
one especially. I imagine Carl's going to go find the ugliest bastard draw ever. Just make sure you do not lose. But so I'm going to be very fascinated. And the good thing with you've beaten West Ham already this season. So I actually think we play West Ham in a few weeks. Come
you
to think of it.
did. Yeah, you
Here's
do.
one then for you. You'll probably be happy with this. That is the first game after AFCON concludes. So all of our players should be back by then. So I can imagine Carl's going to sit watching West Ham Sunderland because it's on TNT Sport as well. So he'll be going, right, Sunderland, you've got your players back from AFCON. Please go and do us a favour by beating West Ham away.
Yeah,
So we'll wait and see. But yeah, no, like I said, even if I still think it'll be used Burnley and Wolves, right, put it this way, Wolves, 100% sure they'll go down. Burnley, 90% sure. With Leeds, it's 50-50. And that's a much better chance for me than Leeds by far have the best chance out of those three teams I've just mentioned, which I
yeah,
know says a lot because you're like, obviously, of course they do, you're 16 points. But what it means in terms of quality, your squad's better than Burnley's, in my
yeah.
opinion.
I agree.
And
As
if
well.
going for,
And I think with West Ham's situation, because if they get rid of Nicolas Sulkrick, he's been linked with a move to AC Milan. I think they're screwed anyway because they need to find a striker.
yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? So I think I do rate Callum Wilson, but again, it's the same thing as Calvert-Lewin. If I'm going to apply that with Callum-Lewin, then be balanced. I apply that with Callum Wilson. If you keep him fit, he's good. But I think the problem is this season, Calvert-Lewin's proved to be fit more. So yeah, we'll see. But okay. So what would you say your feelings as of right now with regard to staying up? Do you think it's fair that it's going to be between you and West Ham
It
for
is.
17th
Yeah,
April?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt it's going to be between Wales and West
Yeah,
Ham. It won't. It's not.
yeah,
It won't be surprised at all.
yeah. That's it. But I think would you have took this position if you were offered it at the start of the season?
Yes, I did say
So
that.
is it after how many games we played? Is it 16? Yeah,
16
16.
now. Yeah,
So if you were offered 16 points before the game prior to Christmas, but you were 17th, you'd have put, I think given the state of the promoted clubs, like last couple of seasons, you probably would have taken that.
yeah,
Another thing to point out as well, you're only 11 points away from getting more points than any of the promoted sides in the last two seasons.
exactly.
Obviously
Yeah,
not combined if you put them
not
together.
combined. Yeah, yeah.
Well, or another way of looking at it, actually, how many points does Sheffield United get in 23-24? I've got this up here.
Was it that long?
No, obviously it was not. But hang on. So Sheffield United, Southampton got 12, Sheffield United got 16. Oh, okay, then right. So say for example, if you got about 4 wins, you would then match Southampton and Sheffield United's combined tally. Because God, they were both bad.
Yeah.
But yeah. So look, it's going to be a fascinating way to see how the season pans out. But yeah, January's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge, yeah. Michael, thank you very much for being a substitute for Douglas. I know
No
we
problem.
appreciate that. Let's go in to look at the table in the Premier League. Arsenal still on top of the table, but Man City have now cut the gap to 2 points, while Aston Villa now 3 points behind Arsenal as well. Chelsea move up to fourth after the Palace and United both drew and lost. Liverpool dropped down to 7th after the Man United draw, which are 11 points. Sunderland just behind them as well.
I'm still pinching myself looking at that table
I know.
from my perspective.
All the teams outside the top six one lost was Everton and Brighton, Spurs and Newcastle. Teams in the mid-table lost, but Fulham and Nottingham Forest were the teams in the bottom half to win as well. Where Leeds got a good draw at Burnley, which still keeps West Ham in the bottom three with Burnley and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Michael, thank you very much for taking your time out as well. And
No,
like I
thanks
said,
for having me.
everyone can find you at Michael Bowers on YouTube as well with all
Absolutely.
your vlog stuff. And you got some more content you're going to be doing across the weekend, especially the festive week coming up as well.
Well, yeah, it's a big, busy festive period. Although I will say, you might see me look miserable on Saturday because I've remembered we're playing our black kit away at Brighton and we haven't even scored in that yet. So give me a 0-0 draw right now. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to wax lyrical about Sunderland 1, Newcastle 0. Never going to turn that down.
No, absolutely, mate. I appreciate that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
everyone for joining, for listening as well. We hopefully have Doug back some point next week. As I said, I am, we should do some the 20 podcast at some point next week. Despite the fact I am working from this weekend till Tuesday before Christmas, but like I said, I will speak to Doug if he's feeling better.
Well, can
If
I just
not,
say very quickly before you finish? So, for everyone who just watches the 20, have a good Christmas. Make sure you have a good time with your loved ones.
yes, absolutely. Thank you, Michael. I'll echo the same as well too. I should be hopefully on with you on Sunday night with the championship view, but I haven't discussed that yet. So I'll see how I feel because I'm not. I think because on Monday I am working on a short shift pattern. I need to see it again anyway. So
Christmas schedule heats up, doesn't it?
it does heat up, but at least I'm off. I'm off after around Christmas, before Christmas Eve. So that's the main important thing. But yes, this Saturday it'll be Reese and Stefan will be doing the Saturday show at 11:30. They will discuss everything, including what's been going on at Celtic after Will Fernandez's situation is hotting up, and especially with Peter Lawwell's. From resigning from the board and more stuff as well for the Europa Conference League as well, and also Michael, hopefully Annie and Steph will be on Sunday night, and hopefully I will be there Sunday night on the championship view at 8 or half 8. We'll discuss that as well, but I should be back on next weekend as it's the festive period coming up as well. So you guys will see me after Christmas when we discuss we'll do the Saturday show Christmas special along with the on after Boxing Day on next Saturday, and also we'll do the championship review as well during the festive weekend as well. So like I said, everyone be safe, have a very, very good Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys after Christmas. Have a good week. Take it for now.